I wasted a lot of time thinking I could learn this all myself, build a business without help. There is nothing like getting in the room and getting face to face with people who have done this stuff.
I mean, in an ideal situation, like what are you going to do next?
If you got $1 million to invest, you put it in 10 deals. You throw the minimum, put 110 deals, right?
So your side is strictly just on the raising capital?
Yep.
So how do you do that?
Lots of things. I mean,
welcome to the Wealthy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Javi Chavez, COO of 5, 7 to 8 figure companies over here at Pineda Company with Ryan Pineda. Today on the Wealthy Business Podcast, I have Justin Freishtat, and he is the managing partner over at Currents Capital. He's built businesses, sold them, absolutely been crushing. How much do you have under management right now?
so we went 0 to 20 million in the first year.
That's impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, to go from 0 to 20 million. I don't know very many people who have done that. So yeah, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, if you really rewind it back to childhood, I had the very unique experience of watching my dad be an entrepreneur, right? So I got to see all the successes, all the failures, making lots of money, which was really eye-opening because if you don't see that growing up, it's very hard to think it's possible.
Yeah.
And I got to see that, but I also got to see, what losing a lot of money, how that can destroy a family and the challenges that come with it. So I just kind of wanted to learn from that and apply that to, what I did in my life. And it was kind of like a head start getting to have that adversity at a young age.
Totally. So walk me through that adversity if you don't mind. So like how did that business failure kind of shape you into now wanting to get into business with your father?
Yeah, so the skill set of making money and building a business is completely different than keeping it, multiplying it, protecting it, right?
Totally.
And that's why you hear all these stories of these amazing entrepreneurs that make a ton of money, lose it all, make it again, lose it all. So I just wanted to kind of flip that script and focus more on, okay, what do you do when you get it? How do you protect it? How do you multiply it? All those things. And I focused on that more. So, I dropped out of college, went into the family business. My dad was in startup mode at an organic food company, and we built that together 15 years, and then sold it to private equity about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Nice. So what did that first year look like coming in and working for your dad? If you can remember.
Yeah, I was a teenager, so it was ground zero. I mean, when he started that business, I grew up in the monster mansion, and then he loses everything, and now we're in an apartment and then a townhouse when he was starting that company. So my bedroom was literally one of the offices for a telemarketer. I was sleeping in a room with a telemarketing office. So that was cool. And I started in the warehouse, just packing orders, learning the back end of the business. Then it was doing deliveries. And then I saw the sales guys and I was like, man, I don't want to make $7 an hour anymore. Yeah. So I took that leap into sales. I think it was in between junior, senior year of college. College, there's just nothing there for me, and it made me feel kind of inadequate, like I wasn't going to make it in life. Sales kind of saved my life. I never really understood a salary. It's like, how hard do you work? They're going to pay you the same. It didn't really vibe with me. So being in a performance-based role was something that just I could understand, and it actually kept me accountable to the results because I knew if I didn't perform, I wasn't going to make the money.
Love it. So transitioning into sales, then what did you do after that? Like, what did you stay in the sales org and then build out the sales team? Like, walk me through what that entire process looked like.
Yeah, that's exactly the progression. So first, I knew I had to become the best. So first it was, how do I become the top salesperson in the company? Then it was all the industry records. So, I still have, most sales in a month, highest sales annually in our industry. And at that point, then it was shifting to building teams, trying to duplicate yourself. And it was very difficult to do in our business because food has thin margins. Like we were a direct door-to-door knocking kind of company, but we couldn't pay the same commissions that a roofing company could. So it was very difficult to scale. It was very challenging, and we went through different periods of growth and retracting because it's also a business. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I think I'm going to get a food service that's going to give me a freezer and 6 months of food. It's not like, oh, my AC broke, I hit Google. Like, the leads were always very difficult to produce and it was very unpredictable. And that was the biggest challenge in that business.
Got it. So how big was the team when you were like at your peak as far as the sales side?
Probably around 15.
Wow. So, and you were managing everybody? Did you have managers below you, or how did that work?
It was just me. And
Nice.
and I never was able to, I got close with a couple guys, got them close to the production, but I was still, even building those teams, I was still driving most of the revenue in the company.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what was the most challenging part about, being a sales team leader at that point?
I think it was just the inability to have that balance of predictable lead flow to how many guys you have, right? So the team would kind of grow and fail with our lead flow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so were you also looking at marketing too? Like how were you guys generating leads at the time?
Tons of different ways. So 2015 was our best year. That's when Facebook ads we were crushing it with Facebook ads. It was cheap. They worked. You could target. And we did all that in-house with the marketing team. And then it got very expensive, and it got to a point where it just wasn't worth doing anymore. And then the next phase of marketing that worked until we sold it was strategic partnerships with other people in the health and wellness industry. So it was gym owners, smaller, like CrossFit guys, people that, I could go to the gym on a Saturday, bring samples, cook a bunch of food at the end of the Murph or whatever they were doing, and then generate leads that way. And then the gym owners would get commissions off of that. So it was always a referral-based ecosystem.
And so we were talking a little bit before filming, and you said that these people who acquire your business, they're looking for systems, processes. So walk me through how that was being built. So who was in charge of building those processes and systems? Was that you? Was it somebody else? And what did that look like going from a solo kind of family business to now trying to make it sellable?
Yeah, we kind of got exposed in a way in the process of selling it, because we didn't have that vision of, let's not take profits this year and reinvest in technology, reinvest in all these things. We were kind of using it as a cash machine at points, and that really hurt the growth. And then when you go to sell it, what you learn is by not investing in those things early, the people that buy your business are going to have to do it. So that's going to hurt your multiple when you go to sell. So great learning experience, rebuilding a business now. We're going to invest in all those things. We're going to do it the right way. And that's just, I guess, the progression of learning business.
Absolutely. Trial and error, and then you're going to use it on the next one for sure. So now fast forward to today. So what are you up to?
Hedge fund manager.
Yep.
It's exciting.
And so for those people who don't know, like, what does that entail, right? Because obviously you hear a hedge fund manager, you watch these shows like, Billions and all of that, right? Are you Bobby Axelrod, or what does that look like? Yeah.
Wouldn't say I'm Bobby Axelrod, but we definitely work with a Bobby Axelrod.
Yeah.
It's an incredible skill set. I just admire someone who can manage over $100 million on a day-to-day basis, stick to the disciplines, put together a track record of trading and beating the benchmark. It's very rare. I think it's less than 1% of traders can beat the benchmark over a long period of time. And to do it with that massive amount of money, stick to your convictions, deal with the swings. That's what we are invested in our Legacy Fund 3 is swing trading in equities with Forte Capital Group.
So how many funds do you have now?
We're 4 funds, and we got a 5th rolling out soon.
Got it. And then walk me through each fund if you could.
Yeah. Fund 1 was based off algorithmic trading, FX space. That was rocking off the start. We had some difficulties with brokerages and just a lot of challenges. So we're still working through that in Fund 1. Fund 2 is our private equity. So it's a series. Essentially, we do an SPV. Some people call it a Series A, B, whatever. But really, it's a special purpose vehicle is just something. It invests in one company, right? And you raise for that, and then that fund's closed, and you go on to the next one.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's big private equity. It's got to be business that's $3 billion or bigger in annual revenue, and then we've got to be able to acquire the shares at a 30% discount. So basically, our LPs are always looking at a 1 to 5 year hold, and after all the fees and splits, we're looking for a 2 to 4x return for them.
Cool. And then Fund 3?
Fund 3. What is Fund 3? That's our legacy fund.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
The legacy fund is your traditional hedge fund. It's trading the S&P, and our trader over 9 figures doing that. And if you take his 18-year track record and you annualize it out, he beats the benchmark. That's all you're trying to do is get a couple points. So in that fund, if you're in just an index fund, S&P 500, 8 to 10% is standard target of the S&P. People will argue that if you adjust it for inflation, CAGR, all that, it's 5%. Yeah, which is probably true. But yeah, so we're looking at a 15% net return target after fees and splits, but that scales. Depending on how much you put in, the splits change, right? It's 50-50 if you put in the minimum. It goes all the way up to an 80-20, so you could be up closer to a 30% annual return if you're putting in big bucks.
And what's the average person investing with you? And I know that can fluctuate, but let's say for Fund 3, what is the minimum investment? What's the average person spending?
Yeah, it's if you look at across all the funds, it's pretty similar. You got a lot of people coming at the minimum, 100,000. They add to their positions after, when they get comfortable. And then you got, outliers, 500K, million. We do have several 7-figure investors. So, the goal is to, build some more track record and start bringing in institutional capital, family offices, all that stuff.
And how long does it typically take a fund to start, generating a good track record? Is it like, I would assume it's a long time, but I have no clue.
Yeah, that's what's so amazing about our structure is that when you invest with Kearns Capital, you're investing in Forte Capital's track record because we're fund to fund. We're raising capital from the smaller, average accredited investor, $1 million net worth to 10 million-ish for the most part, or they are accredited by income, so they can put in something like 100,000. Whereas if you wanted to get access to that same institutional product through the institution, you're looking at minimums that are upwards of 5 million, 10 million net worth before they'll even let you be a client. So
got it.
It's really just an access game.
Okay. And so, yeah, I guess access too. So somebody trying to break into this type of industry, how difficult is it?
Incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It really is a fraternity at the top, but that's what, it's always relationships, right? They don't need money. That's the interesting thing is they'll be able to raise the capital for their deals, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not an issue. It's always there for them, but they're like, who do we like? Who do we have a great relationship with? Who deserves these shares? So yeah, it's interesting. I was reading a book about hedge funds and there's a lot less of them out there than I thought. Can't remember the exact number, but it's, hedge funds are not just what we do, private equity trading. That's what you think of, but it's also real estate, right?
Yep.
Like any 506c product, whether it's a syndication of real estate or whatever, it's a hedge fund.
Yeah, totally. Same thing. I mean, we're raising for a deal out in Iowa. I think it's like I forget how many doors. I think it's like 120 or something like that. So same thing. We're just typical syndication, nothing crazy. But as far as, tell me about this SpaceX deal, if you can. So how'd you even land it?
Yeah, so that's since we're partners with Forte Capital Group, their private equity arm is Innovation X, and over $1 billion under management. They were pre-IPO on Uber, Lyft, Spotify, Airbnb. We just did a deal with them on Flexport, which is a worldwide logistics company. What was the question?
SpaceX.
Yeah. So SpaceX is the next one. So that capital call is 2 weeks away. We're still negotiating the share price, but they all fit the same buy box, right? So if we can't get the shares at a 30% discount to current market value, we're not going to do it, right? It's like it's literally like wholesaling a house, except we're wholesaling shares in a giant company.
Got it. Nice. And so that's your buy box. You said 30%?
Or better.
Or better.
The Flexport deal, we got them at 80% off.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. And so with building, what would you say is the key to success? Is it relationships? Like just in general, right? Like to your success personally, what are like the top few things that you attribute your success to?
Definitely relationships, understanding that the things you're intimidated of that hold you back, that people are doing these big things, right? It's very intimidating. I think it holds a lot of people back just to not get in the room. Myself included. I wasted a lot of time thinking I could learn this all myself, build a business without help. And I read a lot of books, a lot of podcasts, but it only gets you so far. There is nothing like getting in the room and getting face to face with people who have done this stuff. And once I started doing that, my intention was to go learn, but then it opened up all these doors that I didn't even, these worlds. I would not be a hedge fund manager if I didn't spend a bunch of money on proximity to people who were doing the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are apprehensive of doing is that, and just spending the money to get in the room, because that's initially, if you don't have the relationship, if you aren't born into a great family or whatever, it's very difficult to make these relationships. And the only way you can do it, to break into it, is by, like you said, proximity, paying to be in the room initially, or like you mentioned, it was some guys, it was their neighbor. How you got the SpaceX dealer? Was that's correct?
How we got the relationship with Forte. Yeah.
So I mean, paying to be in the right zip codes.
That's it.
Right. You got to get the nice house, or you're going to whatever meetup, and so I definitely agree with that. So as far as the rest of what are you looking at 5-10 years down the road? Like, what's the ideal goal for you?
Yeah, I think it's just scaling this business, building that track record. The goal is to get to $1 billion. I know we're going to do it. It's just a question of how long it's going to take. And looking at more, not just the big private equity, but we want to do smaller private equity as well. That's what Fund 5 is going to be, or maybe it's Fund 4. I'm getting them confused right now. But we're working on finalizing a deal with an aerospace company that's on the smaller side, but they specialize in turbines.
Interesting.
Rolls-Royce 757 engines. So they buy these airplanes, refurbish the turbines, and flip them, and the margins are monster. And you can structure it like a real estate deal because you can depreciate airplanes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we're gonna pay a 15% pref, but you're also gonna get up to 80% depreciation in year one. So it's like a real estate fund, but it's aerospace turbines.
Yeah.
So it's so much cool creative stuff you can do in this space.
Yeah. And so define smaller, because to some people, small might be a different thing than others. But yeah, so define like what's like that fund looking like.
I mean, we're gonna raise probably less than 10 million at first for that one. They don't need that much.
Modest.
But, they'll it's a very specialized thing, right?
Totally.
So it's almost like a debt fund, right? If you're going to pay 15%, it's like a hard money loan from the investor back to them, and then they get the K1 with the depreciation.
Got it. And how are you sourcing these deals? Are you the one who's out and about finding them, or are they coming to you? Like, what does that process look like for you guys?
Yeah, I have nothing to do with deal flow. That's all Cody Kearns. He's the mastermind behind all the structure and the portfolio management and getting those deals for us.
Got it. And so your side is strictly just on the raising capital?
Yep.
Cool. And so how do you do that?
Lots of things. I mean, podcasts, it's definitely just getting the word out there really helps. Go into these high-end masterminds is how we've done a lot of it. And joining these groups, we're building out, because we're only 1 year old. We're very still in that startup mode. So building out lists that we can do email marketing, all that traditional stuff, and then building relationships. Like we just joined the Family Office Club, and that's the institutional level. It's like a big fraternity of people doing this stuff on a bigger scale than what we are right now, and they give you access to their lists, and so you can pay your way into access as well.
Yeah. How much do you think you've invested in education?
Man, 6 figures for sure.
Yeah. Nice. And then all that also entails like being in the rooms and all that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still a lot of masterminds I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah. I mean, same with us. We spend probably just this year alone like multiple 6 figures, and then over the course of it, I mean, it's probably still sub $1 million, but it's definitely like $500,000, if not more, just in like masterminds, education. And that's only been over the course of like 2-3 years. So we're definitely big, and same thing, just paying to be in the room, because we don't have the network, and what we have a decent network just with Ryan and all the podcasts, and I like just being in connection with all these people, but there's definitely still a huge untapped market for us. And just learning from, I think if I can think of the reason why we've scaled so quickly, it's because we're able to just like pick information from the people who are already doing it, right? Everybody's like somewhat of a phone call away, and we wouldn't have that if we weren't in these networking masterminds and all that type of stuff too. So
you see, that's the biggest ROI on spend, or is it something else?
For us, the biggest ROI on spend is definitely education, I think. I mean, obviously, like, right, we can talk about ad spend, we spend, I mean, I was looking at it, we've spent over like to date this year, we've spent close to about $800,000 just on like paid advertising and all that type of stuff. But I think the biggest ROI is definitely the network, getting the return on spend. Ryan was just talking about it. We spent $100,000 to get Ed Milet to speak at our next event, right? But to us, we're like, okay, we're gonna get in the room with Ed. He already got on the podcast, so now Ryan's on that platform. We're able to pick his brain, and now we have Ed's phone in our phone book. So just in case we need anything down the road, we're able to connect. So for us, yeah, I think the biggest ROI is definitely on the network and making those connections for sure.
I think it's the hardest thing to calculate, and that's why people don't do it, because you kind of, to a certain degree, have to take a leap of faith when you invest in proximity. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I agree, but I think for us, we've gotten to the point now where it's like we've seen so much return in just other ways and making these connections, and we're willing to take the bet now just because we've seen how it's played out for sure. So it's been huge. So you got a rollie on the wrist. Is that your only one? Do you have multiple? Like, are you a watch guy? Or?
I'm not. So this is the only rollie. There's a great story with this watch.
Tell me.
So I'm not going to say his name because he's very private, but he has the record for the largest private equity transaction from a single investor.
Wow.
And it was on Lyft. He raised 124 million from one guy.
That's crazy.
Pre-IPO, and he's our trader. He's also our connection at Innovation X. This was his watch, and Cody, our founder, gave me a target, and he was like, "I'm buying you a Rolex when you hit this target. Don't give me a challenge." Crush that target, and then at our boot camp, this gentleman spoke, and I got his watch. So I'm wearing
that's
a
awesome.
private equity Legends Rolex.
Dude, that's pretty sweet. That's a way better deal, better story than mine. But no, that's awesome. And so, would you say understanding sales is probably one of the most important skills you have in your tool belt, or what do you think it is?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like when we define sales, I don't know. It's like, I read all the sales books and then I threw it all in the garbage. I was like, this just makes me feel gross,
I agree.
And I hear Gary Brecka talk about this a lot, the frequency of authenticity and just the energy. I feel like that's really what sales is.
Yeah.
Is just being pure with your intentions, and people can feel that. And if you're intentionally asking questions that help solve their problem, it's really not more complicated than that.
I agree. And that's what I think a lot of people, when I say like sales skills, I think they might have a negative connotation that I'm talking about, the Grant Cardone style where, if you ask a certain question to overcome this objection, then, you're going to negotiate. But in reality, it's just being genuinely curious and effectively communicating, I think would be a better way to put it and that's what it sounds like a lot of your role is today. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're doing is just having a product and then finding the right people for that product.
Yeah, being a connector. That's it.
Yeah. So what's next on the roadmap? I know you said you got a different fund. I mean, in an ideal situation, like what are you going to do next?
Yeah, I mean, I want to focus not only just on the funds and everything, but I want to get back into an investment mode personally too.
Yeah.
I'm really heavy in multifamily as an LP. I see the opportunity to move to the GP side. Maybe we bring some funds in that way.
How many doors? Because you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, it's 1674.
Nice.
Yeah.
And is that all throughout the U.S. or where is that based?
Yeah, it's 5 states.
Okay.
And this is like my investment philosophy and principle, because I see what happens when you're too allocated to one thing, and you just don't want to fall in love with one thing, right? So if you got $1 million to invest, you put it in 10 deals. You throw the minimum, put 110 deals, right? So yeah, I got a lot of doors, but that doesn't mean you have a lot of money in it, right? So yeah, I was. I didn't want to have too much A class, didn't want to have too much B, didn't want to have too much C, spread it out. And then I didn't want to have too much exposure to any certain economy in the country. So 2 in Texas, there's a portfolio of 6 apartments in Ohio that I'm in, and then 1 in Illinois, and then 1 in Georgia. So, and if I find a great deal in Texas, I probably won't go for it because I want to get exposure to just different areas. I'm always thinking about how do we protect this capital first rather than getting greedy on the returns.
Nice. So walk me through the business structure of what your hedge fund looks like, if you can, today. Like how many employees, what are their roles, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're lean. I mean, it's an interesting business when you don't have a physical product, right? Which is the opposite of my old business. So really at the top, it's just 3 of us. Cody Kearns is the founder, portfolio manager, CEO. And then Sergio Triconis is our COO, great systems guy. Need that because I'm me.
Yeah.
And then I'm the president of sales. So the 3 of us are working on a daily basis, growing this thing. We do have some internal employees that just help out with some administration stuff. But one thing in the fund space that I think is really important, like if you get one thing out of this podcast to protect yourself, is do business with funds that have third-party administration.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, 2 things. Number 1, compliance is very complicated. They're excellent at it. They specialize in it, right? But it also protects the LPs from the GPs, right? Like if you look at every fraud and Ponzi of all time, they all did internal reporting. They were falsifying things. They had too much internal control, right? So when you put a third-party administration in place, you can't move money without them signing off on it. They do the audit. They send the reports to the investors every month. The statements don't even come from us, right? So
that makes sense.
It puts the checks and balances in place that you can trust the information you're getting as an investor, and it makes it impossible for your GPs to steal your money or do anything like that. So that's just a core foundation of how we built the structure of the fund to have that in place.
That's huge. And so that's a very lean operation. So headcount total, so you got 3 on the top, and then how many admin type people do you guys have? Like 2?
Yeah, and then we have capital raisers and strategic partners. So they're managers of the fund, right? 1099. It might be someone I have a relationship with that is, has a different business in the finance space, but they have people that would be interested in what we do, and then it cross collaborates and they can get compensated that way. So we have, I'm going to say probably 5 of those as well.
That's impressive. And again, you guys don't have a physical product, so it makes sense. What would there ever be a need to scale additional sales acquisitions people, or how do you guys foresee the business growing in the next year?
Yeah, that's what we're putting together right now, right? There's a lot of ways to scale. Do we want to, hire a huge sales team of capital raisers to go out and, try to, network their power base and, go to events and meet, accredited investors? Or do we want to look at bigger strategic partners, which is kind of what I want to do? Instead of hiring 20 people, I'd rather get one partnership with someone with a massive network like you guys, right?
Totally, yeah.
And say oh, we'll put up a story about SpaceX and then you'd rip profits, you don't have to do anything, right? So I'm looking for people with, really big networks that are in this type of space where their following and network is related, but we can help each other.
Well, totally. It's that 80-20 rule idea, right? Just go focus on the 20% of people who are going to create the biggest output for you guys instead of, it could be somewhat profitable to go build a huge sales team, but then, now you got to deal with payroll, deal and acquisitions and all this extra stuff, where in reality you could probably find one big guy to produce all that capital. So it makes a lot of sense. So I get it. And if you guys are operating pretty lean, why even worry about building out that team? So makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't seen margins like this anywhere because it's you don't really have any overhead.
Huge. So switching gears a little bit, you're in shape. You're fit. What are you doing to stay lean?
Yeah. So, now it's just working out. Traditional workouts. I'm in a program with Sean Crane just for accountability. It's been different phases of life. I played hockey. That's how I got into college. It wasn't the grades. So yeah, I played men's league hockey for a long time back in DC. When I moved out here, I haven't played at all. So it's been, I'm all about the biohacking, really deep in it. Cold plunging, all that stuff. I did that earlier. It's weird. I feel like I'm on fire right now. I go in the cold plunge and I'm freezing, and then a couple hours later, it's your body temp comes back and you're hot. But it's been an interesting journey. I think the biggest difference between how I look now and how I feel now is just sobriety. Sobriety is a superpower, man.
How long have you been sober?
100%, only a couple weeks, but it's been something. I went through a tough period. Last couple months, my brother got cancer. He's 28 years old. 2 little kids. It really beat me up. But, I wasn't drinking a ton, but it was I'm having a glass of wine with dinner. Every night, and then it becomes a habitual thing, and you'd be surprised how those calories add up, and all of a sudden I'm you look soft, so I'm I kind of made a decision that, why do you even need that in your life at all? And especially when things are not going well and you're going through something, it's the worst time to do that. So I just was I'm cutting this off for good. I just want to live a life of sobriety, and I feel like the universe or God, whatever you're into, rewards that type of behavior, and you just can't be someone that's drinking alcohol every day if you want to grow a fund to $1 billion.
Yep, it's true. It's just because I did the 75 hard for a little bit, and so and it wasn't necessarily that I wasn't feeling as clear. I remember the difference between when I wasn't drinking and when I am now, but it's more so you lose a day or you're a little bit slower the next day. Even if it's a few glasses of wine at night or whatever, the next day, you're a little bit more foggy, you're a little bit slower. And so when I was not drinking, it just, I got my weekends back. I was a lot more productive even during the week just because I wasn't feeling hungover. But I think it's huge. And even hearing you say it, I'm dude, I should probably just stop drinking altogether too, because it makes a difference, man. It really does.
What the problem is? What? The problem is we can be very successful and do these things.
Exactly.
And you kind of fool yourself into thinking that you can, because you actually can, but you're really only getting 80% of your production.
Yep.
Right. Yesterday, I'm at the community gym. I'm the only one in there in the middle of the day, and I'm watching everybody at the pool, and I'm just now I'm not that guy. Yep. I didn't go to brunch and drink and waste the day because it was a holiday. I crushed in the gym. I cold plunge, writing content, and then I'm just I'm feeling so empowered by that. And I want to feel like that all the time.
And it steamrolls too, right? And then no matter, as long as it makes you feel like you have an edge, then that's all that matters too, right? Because obviously there's a ton of science behind cold plunging and everything else too. But once you get into this routine of like, dude, I'm rolling, I'm feeling good, I'm not drinking, and then it just stampedes and it steamrolls into, whatever other more productive things you could be doing. Like you said, you're writing content and all that. So you're just, those little things add up.
Yeah,
So.
I'm watching you guys and how strategic and the frequency and how amazing all the content you put out is. I'm like, I got to step up that game, right?
Yeah.
Takes effort.
A ton of effort, right? And it takes a team too. I mean, for us, right? I mean, for content, you saw the guys all out here, right?
Yeah,
we have
big team.
We spend probably $60,000 to $70,000 each month just on content. That's not paid ads. That's not anything. It's just Ryan's content, and then now like our content as well, which is huge. And that's part of the reason we started an agency. So we have like 50 clients right now who we all do production for, and that's a totally different team. But we just saw like we're doing this, so we feel like other people are going to need it. And I mean, it's been a profitable business for us too, but just seeing how much goes into content, it has been pretty impressive. And obviously, I know you're like, what are you doing right now? I mean, do you have an editor? Like, what does that look like?
I've been inconsistent. I've gone through periods where I'm investing in the content, sending it out to an editor, and then last month I've just been doing it myself, throwing it up there, and the results are actually better.
Yeah.
As far as, comments, things, and the quality, when you send it off to an editor and it's a podcast, like it's still worth doing, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it gets the same impact as when you're just looking in the camera talking to
Well,
people.
something that we talk about too, right? There's two different types of like short form content. There's the stuff where when you're intentional and you're like talking to the camera, that stuff's always going to perform better. Even if you like are direct and you film it and you still send it off to an editor, that's still going to perform better than like the podcast stuff that gets chopped up, because it's very difficult to get like a complete reel out of the podcast. Obviously we do it, and because we do both. And we're going to take this podcast, we're going to chop it up, and it'll be like a sizzle reel for, somebody. Hopefully somebody's going to watch it and like, oh, this is great. Now I'm going to go watch the entire podcast. But, for us, it's a volume game, right? Ryan posts like 6 times a day. I'm nowhere near that. I'm trying to do like once, twice a day. And then with the podcasts, they're launching, and we'll have at least 2 posts from that. And then I'm still trying to do the one physical post, because, people, like you said, they value authenticity. And sometimes like the overly produced stuff just doesn't resonate as well as you sitting at home. And obviously it helps that you have a beautiful house. You're sitting out there, got a great view and all that. So yeah, it's definitely, it's a balance.
Yeah, I feel like I overstory. Like I do too many stories. I notice like if you go over 4, 6 stories, like the views
the view
get diminished. Yeah, I don't know if there's a sweet spot there. But.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you with the story stuff, because the stories like I use that for like my like regular life, and then I'm trying to like post all the business content. Or like if a story does well, then I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna make a reel out of this, and then I'm gonna like repost it and do something. So yeah, but I've been following you, and I feel like you do a pretty good job. You're pretty active on the gram.
Yeah, consistent with that platform.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you don't have a team, it's going to be very difficult to do it across all the different platforms.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you make enough money. You should go hire like $2,500 or like a $3,000 a month person, and just have them post everything for you, produce it, do all that. Because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
It makes it way easier.
It's funny you say that, because we are doing that.
Yeah.
We we filmed our first podcast this morning.
So. Oh, nice. Yeah. And then so what does the production look like for that?
So our team's in Florida, right? So I'm the only person on the West Coast, but so they were both in office, Sergio and Cody, and I was on the Zoom or whatever. But
using Riverside or something?
Yeah, Riverside. That seems to be the one everybody sends me. For the first one, I just put my phone up separately sideways. I gotta order a camera and a microphone, all that stuff, But it's like, you better get started.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be perfect at first.
And then what do you guys use on the back end for production? Is just like a virtual assistant? You guys find out a US editor?
No, there's a team in Florida that we've used for all of our boot camps events. They always film that stuff. They do all the content. It's Matt Jimenez and
nice
1% Digital.
Cool. Yeah. Guys. So I didn't know you guys were doing boot camps and stuff too. Walk me through what that process looks like. Like, what are you guys doing boot camps for? Is it just for capital raises or?
Not necessarily capital raises. It's just throwing an event. Cody's done, I think, 15 of them, because he had a marketing business before the hedge fund.
Got it.
Totally different. So they were always throwing events in Florida. They've got a massive presence down there. So they always do it in the East Hotel on the event floor. You can get panoramic views of Miami. We're going to switch it. We're going to stop doing the Miami thing. And I think the next one we're probably doing West Palm Beach.
There we go.
Now that we're hedge fund guys, yeah.
Yeah. So can't go out at the clubs afterwards.
Yeah, no, you won't find me there.
No, yeah, I mean you're sober now, so no point.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, and then with those events, was he selling tickets? Like, what are you guys still doing events?
Yeah, we'll probably won't do one for a while, either towards the end of the year or early 2024. Yeah, everyone's been different. You know, we've got the VIP package where you do it in Miami, you do the yacht day for the VIPs the next day, you know, VIP dinners, all that stuff. And then it's just a different group of speakers every time. Gary Brecka's been our headliner for the last couple.
Nice.
Great guy.
Yeah, Gary's sweet. He was supposed to come to one of our wealth cons, but I think we rescheduled him for the next one. But yeah, no, he seems really awesome. I know he's been on like Ryan's podcast and stuff too. Yeah, like what's that? Are you guys part of 10X? Have you tried 10X Health at all? Or
yeah, I'm all in on that. So
you are?
Yeah,
So
I
is
did
that
the
what you're
genetic test.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things that I do because I had at the organic food company, actually a little health coaching company on the side. So I had seen and through the partnerships we built with dietitians, trainers, chiropractors, I'd seen everything. So I put together my own little program. But yeah, I mean, from the supplements, I use First Form. Love Andy Frisella, those guys.
You want peptides?
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I know
the hot new thing.
Specific use for them. There's definitely purpose for them. Like if I had an injury, I would definitely use some peptides for that.
Yeah. Because I've been hearing that like in the office, Ryan's considering and all that. I'm like, all right, dude, you're gonna be the dummy.
Yeah, people. I mean, it's controversial, but like, you know, doing the genetic test, like you'll find your genetic breaks, right? Because, you know, vitamin D is the only thing we produce naturally. Everything else you have to ingest and your body methylates it into usable form. If you're missing a genetic break, you're missing raw materials, right? So that you'll find that out, and then you don't have to do a shotgun approach to your supplements. You just take the stuff you need. That's one thing, but I think everybody should do a Dutch test and a GI map.
What's a Dutch test?
Dutch test is a full hormone panel, and then it gives you all of how the hormones work together and the pathways.
Interesting.
So in mine, I had a glutathione detox pathway that wasn't working. And what happens if you can't detox that pathway, you get DNA damage over time. That's how you get cancer.
Interesting. Yeah,
so I may have prevented cancer by fixing that pathway. You know, so like you never know. Like the GI maps, it's your whole gut system. If your gut, you could have a parasite and not know it. You could have all these different things, and serotonin, all these important things are made in your gut. They flow through your vagus nerve to your brain. It's like a lot of us are just walking around at 40% and we don't even know.
Yeah, that's huge. So, and was that all through 10X, or how did you get those tests? Is just go to your regular doctor or what?
No. So like a regular doctor is not going to do a Dutch test. This is all just like different people that specialize in these different things, and you know, all the stuff that works, health insurance isn't going to cover it.
Totally, yeah. And so I still need to do that. I've been talking about getting like all my blood work done for the last like 3 months, and I still haven't done it. But you just convinced me, so
I would do it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because the hormones so important. I mean, especially with men, like the environmental toxins we're exposed to now, microplastics, all of like these forces that are just suppressing testosterone, raising cortisol. I mean, I was walking around for a long time with suppressed, messed up hormones, stress too high, cortisol out of control. Yeah. So, you know, you go get these panels done, you can actually work on fixing this stuff. You'll feel a lot better. You'll perform better. It's definitely worth the money.
So how long did it take you from, you know, getting the test and then taking whatever you're taking to start really feeling the results?
Immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it was
I don't mind talking about it. I mean, my testosterone was on the floor.
Really? Like, because I know what's the like optimal level? 800 to 1,000 or something like that?
Depends on your age. But basically, my test levels were 65-year-old man.
Wow.
At 35 years old when I did this, right? That was last year. And I mean, literally, the guy I was working with was my trainer. I've known him for a long time. He was just like, wow, you have literally been operating off straight discipline.
That's crazy.
There's no drive in your system. So the second I got on TRT, you know, like they recommended a dose that would make me like 20. I'm like, look, I just want to be my age. Like give me something like normal. Yeah. And I mean, overnight it was like night and day difference. Mood elevated, happier, not waking up and fighting the day, just being pumped for the day. When your hormones are out of whack, it's very difficult, and you're gonna have to have a very strong discipline to get your work done.
Okay, so if you don't mind me, so TRT, what else are you on?
TRT, that's pretty much it as far as hormone stuff.
Yeah.
To reduce cortisol, I had a big cortisol problem. There was a whole protocol for that. I don't even remember all the different supplements that I was on for that. But for me, it's really just because I got that like lean, long, lanky body type. I'm taking cross microfiltered protein before my workout, Ultraformance to get the glycogen replacement. I just want to make sure that when I'm leaning out, I can hold as much muscle mass as possible.
Totally.
So it's not much more than that. Fish oil, and then L-methionine is that's from Gary Brecka, for my ADHD issues, from my genetic break.
Yeah. Nice. And so are you doing shoulder, butt?
Straight butt.
Love it.
Yeah.
And then are you doing it? Is the wife doing it?
Combination. At first, like, I'm not good with needles, man.
Yeah, that's my fear. I've thought about it, and I'm just like, dude, like, I don't know if I could deal with it. Like, was it twice a week or something like that?
Twice a week, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what happens? This is what happens, right? At first, my wife's doing it every time. She's like, "This is disgusting. I hate this." And, and like, she's gonna kill me for saying this.
That's okay.
But and then you know what happens? Then you got to travel, and you're forced to do it. Yeah. First time, I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Did it, and now it's no big deal.
So yeah, how long did it take you to get used to it, or do you like never get used to it?
The first month kind of sucks because your skin and your tissue's not really used to it. You get a little sore.
Yeah.
But then you build up the scar tissue and you don't even feel it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to, not really feel it?
Probably about a month.
Okay. And how long you been on it?
Probably about a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah, and clearly you're feeling the difference.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the last time I did like a shred down bodybuilding type diet, not get on stage, but like just to get beneath 10% body fat. Yeah. I was 165 pounds at 9%.
Wow.
And I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
There was no testosterone in my body. There was muscle mass. I was like, it was gone.
Yeah.
So now, getting back on that, I wasn't so disciplined with my diet the past year. Went to 195 2 weeks ago, and I was like, okay, now it's time to shred down. I wanted to put on some bulk and then do it again. So my goal this time is to get single-digit body fat, but be right about 180 pounds.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's lean for, where you're at. So that's awesome for 6 foot. Like, yeah, and come crush it.
Metrics, right? Like do the in bodies so you know where you stand and all this stuff, because the visceral fat's the most important for your longevity and health.
Yeah, and then that one, I think, what do you want to be at? Like a 2 or 3 or something like that? Is that the 1 to 2?
Ideally.
Yeah.
But I think anything less than, 5 or below is like you don't have like
any issues,
a ton of fat around your organs.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this took a turn for fitness. I love it. Yeah. But I think it's all connected, right? And something that like we talk about a lot is like, if you're not in the best shape, like physically, you're not going to be the best entrepreneur either, because you're going to, and then also with your relationships, whatever it is, you're going to carry that into your business. And then you can't, when you're feeling good, you're ready to rock, the person who might not be at, a 10% or 100% level, they can't compete with you. And that's the thinking, at least, right?
And I think if you don't pay attention to your body, you're going to miss opportunities, because if, for instance, I'm looking at an investment, if you can't take care of yourself, can you really take care of the investment?
Exactly. Right? Yeah. I think I always think about this like Joe Rogan quote, which I think is so funny, because he was talking about like investment banking. He's like, dude, like, who do you want managing your money? Do you want like this fat, like not looking good, or do you want the sharp guy who's in a suit, looks great, like, Patrick Bateman looking guy? And I was like, you know what? He's kind of right. Yeah, it's true.
Because everybody knows this. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Exactly. I love it. So, as far as like back to business, what are if you could think of 1 or 2 books that you feel like have like really impacted your growth and where you're at today that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I want to give one that's not an obvious one that everyone gives, because the first one was Rich Dad Poor Dad, but we're going to slide that away.
Yeah.
The Lifestyle Investor.
Ooh, okay.
By Justin Donald, I think is his name. And it talks about something you don't hear in a lot of investing books, about the return of capital piece, and how you can get to infinite returns, and how you recycling the money and doing deals that way. It's like the returns within the returns. That was the light bulb for me to get into value add real estate. I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me that I can get all my money back in 3 years and still have the equity in the deal? Like, that's infinite money. And now I'm rinsing and repeating. And that's how you can scale your investments fast, with that return of capital piece. That's a big takeaway from that book. The one book that changed my life more than anything else, this was a long time ago. It was one of the first ones I did in my early 20s. It's called No Excuses by Brian Tracy.
Okay. Nice.
That's what literally, I got that light bulb switch where I took complete accountability for my life, and I stopped blaming, my past, my parents, like, for anything in my life. It was like, wait a minute. Now I get it.
Yeah. Now you're in control. Love that. Yeah. And now, where can people find out more about you?
Okay. So at Justin Freishtat, all over the social medias. personal website is toptierhuman.com.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good domain.
Yeah, that was the fitness fitness company there for a little bit. I'm still using it though. It still works. And then for Kearns Capital, it's just kearns.capital. So no .com in the back of that, kearns.capital.
Perfect. One last piece of knowledge to drop on the audience.
Man.
Yeah.
Only one?
Give me as much as you got. We're ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if you haven't, this is the biggest lesson I've learned in the past year. If you have been lucky enough to not experience tragedy in your life, understand it's coming, and it will be the greatest thing that happened to you, because you will find out who you are and how you respond to really bad situations, whether it's something like my brother getting cancer, a deal going bad. All these things have happened, and I didn't realize for the longest time that I was on this upward trajectory ride, thinking that things are going to be great forever, and I just wasn't appreciating a normal day, right? It's like, how was your day? The same. Like, that's a great day, guys.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing terrible is happening in your life, you had a great day. And I think getting that perspective of gratitude, the longer you go through life without experiencing that, the more you're going to wish it happened sooner.
Yeah, I love that. Mike dropped. If we were on Bradley's podcast, we'd be dropping bombs. But I love it, man. Appreciate you, and we'll cut it there.